everybody in DGS2. We're here to answer some questions about the COVID vaccine. We've been getting a lot of kind of questions on the fly. I've been getting curbsided about it, phone calls, texts, all of that. And so hopefully we're going to try to answer some of the most common questions that people have. And we'll do a few little short videos to answer them so you can hopefully get the facts and then kind of digest it yourselves, and feel free to reach back out to us if you have further questions or concerns. So this is Dr. Sarah Avila, and I'm going to start off with our friend Steve. You also might know him as our chaplain, and Joanna, our psychologist. They're going to ask me some questions about COVID.
Okay, so I'm really curious. My biggest question is, what is this vaccine and how does it work? So what is it going to do to my body? And also, is it going to change my DNA? How exactly does it work? What is going on with this vaccine?
Yeah, that's like the number one question that a lot of people have, because it's a new vaccines. We keep hearing about this RNA vaccine. We've never had one of these before, that kind of thing. And it is really interesting, cool technology and science that we've figured out. I do want to just briefly mention, we'll go into this more in other videos, but this science has been around for 30 years. So we've been attempting to use and make mRNA vaccines for a long time. It's not like this brand new 2020 concept. It's been a process, and it's actually very difficult to get RNA stable. And the big kind of thing that happened in 2018 was we were finally able to find a way to stabilize RNA for delivery to people in a vaccine form. And that happened in 2018. So that wasn't very long ago. So it's our first attempts at making vaccines that are RNA based, because we now have this ability to deliver it in a stable way, which is making it really, really cold, as you guys have seen, and putting it into basically a little fatty particle that will just fuse right into your cells and not have any side effects from that. So that was the major breakthrough in 2018 that's allowed RNA vaccines to sort of come to the front of medicine right now. But we'll go through, actually I'm gonna share my screen, and we'll go through a little bit on how mRNA vaccines work. So hopefully, let me know when you can see it pull up here. This is from Nature magazine.
Okay, I can see it now.
Great. Steve, can you see it?
Thumbs up.
Can you walk us through this, because I don't understand it?
So the left side, so at the top it says nucleic acid vaccines, which there would be the deoxyribonucleic vaccines and the RNA vaccines, the ribonucleic. So this is not a DNA vaccine, so I want you just to ignore that side of the picture for now. We're going to start with the RNA vaccine. So essentially what it is we have the virus, which the way the virus replicates is it has its own DNA, right? Which tells the virus, it makes all of the different particles, all the different pieces of what makes which makes the virus work and infect people. And all of that is basically like a blueprint, and has all these lines of code or lines of instructions on how to make all the different parts of it so that it can come together, assemble, and then infect you and make you sick, right? So what we did is we found in that giant piece of DNA that is the SARS-CoV-2 virus, we found the instructions for the spike protein that allows the coronavirus to infect human cells. And we took that piece of the code, or those instructions, we pulled that out, and when you pull out the instructions, it's called RNA. And then when you take it and package it so that you can deliver it to a cell, it's called messenger RNA. So it's literally just an instruction manual that we're going to deliver to a cell that will hopefully make it for us. So there's no virus, it's just instructions. And then we've got to get it to get into the cell, right? So that was that part I was telling you, like it's very difficult to just get a cell to say, here, make these instructions of something, unless you can get it inside the cell. And the way they did that is they found these really cool lipid coats, basically fatty particles that kind of coat the RNA. And then remember, back in your biology, probably freshman, sophomore year high school biology, the cell is made of a lipid bilayer that allows certain things to pass through, and it'll allow types of lipids to just go ahead and fuse and cross into the side and inside the cell. And so that's what we did. We put the RNA, the instructions, the code for that spike protein, not the virus itself, just the protein. And we put in this little fatty particle, and then we inject it into your muscle cells in your arm. And then your body fuses into those muscle cells and then never goes near your nucleus, never goes anywhere near your DNA, just uses your protein manufacturing cells, which are your protein manufacturing proteins, which are ribosomes. They see this little instruction manual and they go, oh, okay, I'll make this protein like I'm being told to. And they make the spike protein. That was just like the one that would be on the COVID virus. So then that gets put onto your cell, but your body goes, what is this spike protein thing? This shouldn't be here. Let's get rid of this. And so they attack it. So they go after it. They launch a full out attack, right? They bomb it. They throw all the different cells we have. They say, get rid of this thing. This shouldn't be here. What is it doing here? And they get rid of it. They also get rid of the instructions. Usually once the instructions are read, they automatically go away. And so all this happens very quickly. And then in the meantime, what's great is not only while your body's getting rid of it, it will also tell memory cells, which are your antibodies, hey, just in case this thing comes back around again, remember how we killed it. Remember which cells and which types of inflammation got rid of this thing. And remember that, so if it comes back, we can get rid of it faster next time. And then those little memory cells, the B cells, go off into your circulatory system, hang out in your lymph nodes, and wait for it to show up again. And so that's interesting about RNA is this often happens too quickly. Like your body actually will just make it, get rid of it, and be like, okay, well, that was no big deal. We do this every day for every foreign object thing that we see. And it won't necessarily make enough memory cells to keep remembering how to kill off that spike protein or the SARS-CoV virus. So that's why you need the second dose a few weeks later, because you need to tell those memory cells, hey, keep making these cells. You need to remember, because I think you're going to get exposed to this again. Because we'll often, it's actually so short-lived that sometimes they'll just forget too quickly, and then you won't keep those memory cells and you won't have those antibodies available when you do get exposed to the real virus. So that would be why you actually want to have that second dose to make sure that you really did make the memory cells.
Okay. So basically it's a way for our body to respond to something that looks just like the coronavirus but isn't actually a threat to my body, and then it'll destroy that and create kind of a response in case the actual virus does attack my body.
Yeah, exactly. We're just giving it the instructions to make a tiny piece of the virus that in no way is infectious. But it's the part of the virus that we know is how the virus, it's the way the virus gets into our cells. So every single COVID virus has this spike protein on it.
Gotcha.
And so it's a nice way that we know we can attack that virus if you were to get infected with it in the future.
So it sounds like a really good, it sounds to me like a military exercise with really good intel. And then we're kind of creating our response and practicing.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. That's exactly right. And what's nice, is like the reason it's way faster to make RNA vaccines is because we're basically using your cells to make the thing, to make the problem, basically to make that little spike protein real fast so that your body will launch an immune attack against it, rather than having to make hundreds of thousands of millions of virus in eggs like we do for, we used to do for flu, waiting for that virus to grow and replicate, and then chopping it up, killing it, and then delivering that in a vaccine. This, we're just giving you the instructions to make a little piece. So it's fast, right? We're not having to make anything. We just have to give you this little piece we're just having to make an RNA.
Okay.
So where does it come from then? Because I feel like I saw this scene in Jurassic Park where the little dancing DNA guy, and that didn't work out so well for them, because the piece that they didn't say is that they were pulling part from these bullfrogs that could change their sex, and then that made the dinosaurs be able to reproduce, and then they ate everybody in the park. So what is
Yeah, that is the risk when you're taking full DNA, right? The DNA can make the virus, which can then be infectious. The DNA can make the dinosaur, right? We're not doing that. We're replicating one tiny piece of the DNA. This, you know, like, so if you were to have like the instruction manual to building a desk, we're taking like how to put one shelf onto the desk. So that one shelf will not make a desk for you, but we're just going to give you the instruction page that says, here's how to put the shelf insert into desk. Right? So that's where it's much safer, is all we had to do is just basically replicate and copy millions and millions of copies of this RNA piece, which is this tiny, tiny little molecule. And then we just have to figure out how to keep that stable, put into the lipid, keep that stable and deliver it to people. So that part was actually fairly fast because we've been doing that, like I said, for decades. And then the lipoprotein part, we've been figuring out how to do that for the past 2 years and then testing that out. So we knew that would work. So then it was a matter of, okay, what does this do to people, right? And that's where the trials were able to get off the ground so fast, is we already relied on the technology that we had figured out, where it's just, hey, find this little piece, copy a whole bunch of RNA. Has nothing to do with the DNA. There's no risk of it turning into a dinosaur, like you said. Like it can't turn into a virus. It's just this tiny little copy that makes a protein. And then figure out, is that safe and does it work in people? I would say most of the time the issue with RNA vaccines, or RNA things, is it doesn't work. It just breaks down before your body makes it. So that's what was so amazing, is, you know, they were able to show 95% effectiveness. And so this is pretty amazing that it's
pretty
works.
good.